The Second Palestinian Intifada, intifada meaning civil uprising, took place from the year 2000 to 2005, following the first Palestinian Intifada that took place from 1987 to 1993. The second round of disputes began around the time the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ariel Sharon, made what some would consider a very provocative visit to the Temple Mount on September 28, 2000. This was the last breaking point for the Palestine Liberation Organization chairman, Yasser Arafat. After this, the peace began to break down after a demonstration by young people of the Palestine against the occupation of the land where they threw stones at Israeli soldiers. The soldiers returned with actual fire from their military, which is far more superior. From then on, the Palestinian government reacted by attacking Israeli soldiers and citizens by brutal suicide bombs in cities. The study of this event is important because in recent years, American media has demonized people from the Middle East and talk about the people there collectively as if they are not all human individuals. Americans wouldn't want people from outside the U.S. to view us all the same, nor should we do that to anyone else. In this class, we have learned that collective violence is when violence occurs by a large number of people at once in response to the same thing. The main dynamic that led to this violent outcome is the fight over land between Palestinians and Israelis who want control over the same land. Both groups have historical ties to this land and feel that it is theirs to control. The Oslo Accords, a declaration of principle signed in 1993, basically established where the Palestine Arab territory would be, as well as the territory of the Israelis. In this map, you can see that the Palestine occupies West Bank as well as Gaza. Another contributing factor to the continued violence throughout the 5 years is the economic state that the Palestine suffered from this. By May of 2002, Palestinians have lost $3.49 billion due to some degree because of continued soldier deployment. In 2000, the summit Camp David convened with world leaders to try and fix the violence and injustices occurring in the Middle East. However, even though former U.S. President Bill Clinton offered up $35 billion in aid, the summit did not fix anything. The Palestine Liberation Organization chairman Arafat was unwilling to negotiate and had a favor of violence. Since the beginning of civilizations, most wars begin over land. This one is no different. Badar Araj stated in the Canadian Review of Sociology that the suicide bombings in particular stemmed from an underlying, quote, desire for revenge against Israeli forces and their harsh repressive measures, end quote, among a couple other motivations. I think this is the biggest reason that this collective violence went on for so long, is the desire for revenge against one another. I believe that outbursts of violence like this also center around fear, and we have learned in this class that another factor for collective violence is an us versus them mentality. Roshama Martin of Palestine Israel Journal of Politics, Economics, and Culture states, quote, the Israeli worldview is sharply divided into us, Israelis, right and just, and them, Palestinians, wrong and evil, end quote. And I know others can say the same, but vice versa. More underlying social issues causing the Second Intifada has to do with the classification of Israeli Palestinians. Classifying two ethnicities and races have also always been known to cause collective violence as well. Our author Franz Fanon from this course would argue that race is foremost what divides people. I do not agree with a lot of Fanon's findings. However, in this instance, I think he is correct. However, it does get a bit tricky with Fanon's work because he points out that colonization is also to blame and defines it as a mass takeover of land that was occupied by natives. This becomes problematic in this situation because that's what the whole debate is trying to get across in the first place. Who owns this land and who was here first? Who gets control of this? The Second Intifada was an awful act of collective violence that left its mark on the Middle East and is still doing so today. The reasons behind this act of violence could be attributed to fear, differing mentalities, race, and money. The violence from 2000 to 2005 was particularly brutal, and this is another occurrence that wrongfully caused so much upset in other countries, specifically in the US, and caused a lot of people to demonize anyone who is from Middle Eastern descent. There was an onslaught of unnecessary violence. particularly civilians and children. But this topic is important and needs to be learned about. Otherwise, we will continue to believe all of the stereotypical behaviors that come with this occurrence.